We've seen all these stories floating around social media about the Biden administration, the story from Newsweek, cutting HBCU funding from $45 billion to $2 billion. I've seen a lot of folks I know retweeting these stories saying this is a damn shame. There's a problem with that because the federal government isn't giving HBCUs $45 billion a year. So I reached out to Leslie Baskerville, of course. So Leslie, she's been on the show many times. She's with the National Association for Equal Opportunity in Higher Education. She joins us right now. And so, all right, Leslie, you've been very much involved when it comes to fighting for funding for HBCUs. What is the truth with this story? Because, again, everybody is spreading it. They're saying, see, Biden and Harris, they trash. They're slashing $43 billion from HBCUs. What is the truth?
Roland, good to be back. It's always good to be with you. The truth is that that's absolutely unequivocally false. In terms of HBCUs, we've never had it so good. HBCUs, I say it's harvest time for HBCUs. It's a season of new hope. We have an administration who truly believes in and has invested in excess of $6.5 billion in HBCUs and is investing more as we're talking presently. We have a Congress where we have bipartisan support in the House and the Senate. So we have bipartisan and bicameral support for HBCUs. So, and based on the investments by Congress and the administration, we have more corporate support, more individual philanthropic support. We've moved from the style section of the newspapers to the education section, to the business section, to all of the sections where we should be, because we have a 15 billion short-term economic interest at our HBCUs collectively, and HBCUs are doing more than any other cohort. For America's historically Black colleges and universities, they're just 3% of American colleges. In the sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics, they're graduating 42% of Blacks. And in education professionals, 50% of Black education professionals, health professionals, the lion's share, punching way above our weight. And we have an opportunity like none other to continue to show that our outcomes are far in excess of the input into our institutions, and that we're worthy of and should have more dollars invested in us. That's what we were talking about today. And while we were there, my phone was exploding, and I got out and they said there's a story out about a $45 billion cut from this administration, and we're down to $2 billion. Well, the reality is this. Everybody has heard about the negotiations on reconciliation budget that includes a lot of human needs programs and education program. In fact, it will invest in early childhood, the entire pipeline from early childhood to the middle passages to undergraduate school, community colleges, undergraduate, graduate and professional schools like never before. In the process of negotiation, the figures are going up and down. There was never a figure for this one particular bill of 45 billion. But the figures are dancing around. Right now, I don't think the White House can tell you exactly where the figure is, but whatever the figure is, our institutions will be greatly enriched as they continue to enrich America. Reality is, America can't realize her goals, can't realize her education goals, her economic goals, her
Okay,
wealth
but
goals, health goals without HBCUs. And so we're going to continue to get money. But I just want to say this. I heard a bit of the last program. Yes,
Leslie, hold on
sir.
one
Tell me,
second.
tell me. Go ahead.
Hold on, Leslie, hold on one second. Again, so
Yes.
I need to walk slowly through this again. Okay, the story says 45 billion for HBCU and other minority institutions down to 2 billion. All right. What I'm still trying to understand though is what is this 45 billion? Because the reality is
Yeah.
right now, HBCUs, the federal government is only providing around, and correct me if I'm wrong, around $1 billion annually to HBCUs. Is that correct?
Could be. Yeah, but we got substantially more in this last time because of the coronavirus special supplemental.
No.
But
I got
yes,
that. I got that.
you're
I
roughly
got that.
correct.
But here,
But let me tell you,
but
to answer
here's
the question about the 45 billion. In the Build Back
okay.
Better blueprint, in the blueprint or the platform, the administration has it as an aspirational goal, investing 45 billion in infrastructures and research for HBCUs. That's the aspirational goal. Hopefully, we'll get to that at some point. That
Okay,
is a
hold on,
platform. It's not in the
hold up,
bill. It's not in the bill.
hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. And let's say again, okay, the Newsweek, okay, again, the Newsweek story
Yeah.
says 45 billion for HBCUs and other minority serving institutions. The
Right.
reason I'm stating that is because people are tweeting and posting as if the 45 billion is all going to HBCUs. It's not.
Well,
There are
that's
other
correct.
institutions that are in this, so that 45 billion is not all for HBCUs. And have you seen, again, this is for everybody who's understand, this is what you work on. Have
Right.
you seen an actual hard number that they are proposing in this bill that's specifically for HBCUs?
No, there's a coupling, but we're asking for a decoupling. But let's go back. I want to make sure that your audience is clear because I think part of this, and I believe that Newsweek is a reliable, independent news source, but there's huge
Not
confusion.
necessarily.
Good. Thank you. That's you.
Not
And you're
necessarily,
in the business. So
because
let me
first of
just
all,
say this.
the Newsweek story is written off an Associated Press story. I've read the
Uh-huh.
story. The problem
Okay.
is it is scant details, and
Yeah.
as somebody who reads the story, if I see 45 billion cut to 2, I want to know, I want to
Didn't
see what the
happen.
45 billion was for. I haven't seen it.
Didn't happen. And so that's confusing a reconciliation bill that has a figure that at no time was 45 billion with a platform in which there was an aspirational goal for 45 billion. And you're absolutely right, for HBCUs, TCUs, and their tribal colleges, universities, and then demographic MSIs. And so those would be Hispanic serving institutions, tribal colleges, and predominantly Black institutions. And so that was for an aspirational goal for the community in a platform. So now the president is in, the administration is in. We have better relationship and better access to folks in the administration who themselves have gone to HBCUs, but importantly, who understand the centrality of HBCUs to American progress. More importantly, for where we are presently, they understand that HBCUs, because HBCUs are unlike any cohort of colleges and universities, and you talk about the PBIs, TCUs, and APCs, Asian Pacific Islander colleges, they are demographic MSIs, minority serving institutions. HBCUs, people don't know this, they are not minority serving. They have no race and no ethnicity criterion. And they were founded for the purpose of educating the progeny of the American slave system, or blacks and other persons. And they've been open and inclusive of all students since their founding. But they are unique. We have a special relationship with America because, unlike any other group of colleges and universities, HBCUs, the primary cohort, were dragged from their land. Thousands died in the process of having them brought over to this land so that we could provide cheap labor. We were stripped of our culture, stripped of our names, our religion, stripped of everything that was a reality to us. But we thrived, and we served, and we got whipped and beaten and lashed. But important to us was education. And so originally we educated ourselves by all types of signals and working to each other. You all know the story, and I'm not going to take up your story on it. But the point is, from that, we went on to found private HBCUs
Right.
by abolitionists and
Right.
blacks, founded them, and we funded them. We funded them. When Black folks wanted to go to white schools, they could not. And so at some point in 1862, America established historically white public institutions to educate large swaths of white America.
Got it.
Blacks were
But
denied.
but here's but
In
hold tight 1 second. I
1890,
need to. But Leslie, hold on. I need to focus on the current funding, and here's why. Because
okay,
again, I need to walk people through this properly. Because
let's do it.
again, we operate in facts.
Yes, sir.
Originally, there was a 45 in the original proposal, in the original
No,
$3.5 trillion
no.
dollar. So explain it. Okay, good. So again, I need you to explain that
Yes,
so people
there was
understand
not.
the facts on where this number is coming from. Go ahead.
There was no $45 billion proposal in this bill. There was a $45 billion aspirational goal in the Build Back Better platform. So when you run for office,
Okay.
you say, these are things we want to achieve. And that could be
Right.
4
So
years,
okay.
it could be
So
8 years. But that's
in the
an
bill.
aspirational goal.
So okay. So in the bill that the president proposed, what was the actual number?
I've seen numbers between 2 billion and 3.9 billion, low billions. I have at no time seen in the bill itself anything that approximates 45 billion.
Okay. And now what is happening is they're going back and forth on cutting the size of the bill. You have Senator Joe Manchin, who has said he is not going to support $3.5 trillion in spending. Senator
Right.
Kristen Sinema. So what happens? You see cuts made there, and so that's what's going back and forth. And that's why we're trying to sit here and establish what's actually the truth. And so
Yes.
we reached out. We've been trying to get numerous members of the Congressional Black Caucus on the show. We're trying to get Congressman Bobby Scott on, who's on the House
Yeah.
Education Committee. We're trying to get him on because we need there to be an explanation of this because, again, I'm seeing people say all kind of wild stuff, and it's not based in fact or reality. I want to go to my panel. Scott, you have the first question for Leslie Baskerville.
Hey, Leslie, good to see you again. I think you're right about the $45 billion being aspirational, but it's confusing in and of itself because you have these two bills. But let's not forget, when you say that HBCUs are in a really great place right now, that last COVID bill reduced the debt of historical black colleges by millions, each of them. And so, are you seeing more bipartisan support and investment in historical black colleges on the Hill, despite the fact that they're going to have to reduce this Build America Back legislation? Will there be something in there for HBCUs?
There absolutely will be something in there for HBCUs, and there are things in there that now I've seen in roughly 3 places. There are some resources for infrastructure, there's some resources for broadband, but as with every other affinity group, advocacy group, the HBCU community believes, and we want additional resources to move
Mm-hmm.
our Research 2 institutions. We have 11 Research 2 institutions. Those institutions are high research and they're doing the scientific research. They're responsible for
Right.
roughly 42% of Black Americans that have advanced degrees in the sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But they're just 11. And we have none that are R1, that are the top. So we've been pushing and pushing for additional dollars. But more important than the additional dollars is a decoupling of HBCUs from the group that Roland talked about, who said the money, the 45 aspirational goal in the platform that has nothing specific to do with the budget is for HBCUs, tribal
Right, right,
colleges.
right, right. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the deal.
But we
I don't
have
want
to
to talk about platform.
decouple.
I don't want.
I'm not
No,
talking
no,
about
right, no, no. But here's the whole deal. Somebody running for office is one thing. Well, they're
Right.
actually there.
In
I want
this
something was
bill,
actually in the
there
bill.
is
Hold tight.
not 45
Hold tight.
Okay.
Got it. Hold tight one second. All right, welcome back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. We're talking about HBCU funding in the latest bills that is going across Congress. Question, we have Leslie Baskerville with NAFIO. In the next hour, we'll be joined by the Thurgood Marshall Fund as well. Question now, Demario Solomon Simmons, your question for Leslie Baskerville.
Yeah, I do want to hear a little bit more about you talking about the decoupling. I understand that this aspirational number of 45 billion is for tribal colleges in addition to HBCUs. But how much do you think HBCUs will receive specifically for our particular colleges themselves?
Okay, and I just think it's important, given what Roland's trying to do, and I think it is so important, that aspirational goal has nothing to do with this bill. It is not in the bill. It was not in the bill. And and our champions for the bill, many of them are themselves HBCU alums. And the chair of the Education and Labor Committee in the House, Bobby Scott, is a justice janissary. He fights like no other for voting rights and for the rights for the last, the least, the left behind, and for HBCUs. Alma Adams, who's the chair of the HBCU Bipartisan Caucus, fights like a Trojan. So the point here with the decoupling is that because of America's history with HBCUs and denying us dollars for education, denying us a right to an education, and de jure discrimination that was visited upon us for the first 200 years, and then for the last 200 years, we struggled to deal with the vestiges of slavery. They started strengthening HBCUs in the Higher Education Act. And that was in recognition of the fact that we were denied dollars and we were owed dollars. And America said, not only have we intentionally denied you dollars that has resulted in underfunding, deferred maintenance, endowments that are substantially less than others, and on, and just 11 research institutions at this time. But the vestiges of slavery persist. And so we've got to do something about that. And so they put in a pot of strengthening HBCUs for the purpose of strengthening the institutions that were intentionally denied funding. As
So, Leslie,
Yeah.
Scott was talking about, when Scott talked about the $6 billion. So
Yeah.
in the COVID package, there was $6 billion that went directly to HBCUs. And so again,
That's correct.
the reason I'm laying
6.5.
this out there, So when people are talking about what was cut, you have to factor in the COVID bill that was passed earlier by this Congress and signed into law by President Joe Biden. $6.5 billion went to HBCUs, and so
And then
if you're going to say what
another
HBCUs,
1.6 billion, another 1.6 in the rescue plan, the American Rescue Plan.
got it.
Okay.
Robert, I need your question for Leslie. I'm short on time. Robert, short question, short answer.
Just very quickly, we're talking about this, the bill currently going through Congress, and I see a lot of Republicans posting this meme about Joe Biden cutting $30 billion from HBCUs. What Republicans are actually helping on HBCU funding?
Good question.
I've not seen who's on the bill. I know who was on the committee today, and there were a lot of questions about adding additional dollars after we received the 6.5 and then the 1.6. But
looks like, folks, we just lost Leslie Baskerville.
So I guess we're going with none.
So here's the deal. Well, no. Actually, you do have some, and you do have some, and you've had supporters in the past. Again, let me explain to people right now, because I think a lot of people, again, you're retweeting stuff from folks who have no idea what the hell they're talking about. The problem is this here. They are still negotiating what is going to be the size of the package. So is it 3.5 million? It's going to be 2.5. It's going to be 1.5. It's going to be 1.2 billion. Once they get to what that bottom line number is, then you're going to have a renegotiation of all that goes into it. That's what we're doing. I just emailed the White House to say I need a response from you on this so-called $45 billion. And again, here's the other thing I need caution folks you're watching. It said for HBCUs and other minority-serving institutions. Okay, hell, if that so-called $45 billion, you could have $40 billion going to my other minority-serving institutions, and only $5 billion going to HBCUs. But the way it's being portrayed is, $45 billion was going to HBCUs. Right. That's why on this show we speak to what actually happens, what are the facts. And so we lost Leslie. It's fine. I appreciate her coming onto the show. In the next hour, we will talk to the Thurgood Marshall Fund to hear from them about this issue, so you will have the actual facts. And when you're tweeting and posting on Instagram and Facebook and everywhere, fan base and everywhere else, you will have the actual details and not just repeating what somebody else has to say. And so that's why what we do, we focus on facts and details. Back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't
commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
Folks, at the top of the show, we talked about the HBCU funding. The story's been circulating by the Associated Press that $45 billion was supposed to be earmarked for HBCUs. Now that's been cut down to $2 billion. Let's talk with Victor Santos with the Thurgood Marshall Fund. Thurgood Marshall Fund, of course, they are out here representing these public HBCUs. Victor, what is the truth? We had Leslie Baskerville on talking about it as well. I'm sure y'all have gotten phone calls on this. Was there ever $45 billion in a budget proposal or in a bill from the Biden administration, from Democrats, from Republicans to HBCUs?
No. So what the proposal was for HBCUs and minority serving institutions. So you have to understand what minority serving institutions means. HSIs, there are 569 of them. There are only 101 HBCUs. To give you an example of what some of these HSIs look like.
Hold on. Wait. You said HSI. What is that?
Hispanic Serving Institutions. Okay? That means.
So you said that there are 101. Hold on a second. Hold on. You said there are 101 HBCUs.
Correct.
500 and what? Hispanic Serving Institutions?
69 and growing. Okay? So to give you an example.
So 569, 101, that's 670.
Correct. But you also have
Got it.
You also have tribal colleges. So we're only getting a percentage of that money to begin with. Okay. And to give you an example of what these HSIs look like, your alma mater, Texas A&M, is an HSI. So when Leslie was talking about
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. If you serve 25% at least Hispanic students, you are an HSI. Okay, so for that money that is proposed, and when Leslie was talking about decoupling earlier, this is what she was talking about. She was talking about don't put HBCUs in the same pot to apply for this money against Texas A&M, University of Texas. Basically, the entire California system, they're all HSIs. Every school in Florida is an HSI because they serve at least 25% Hispanic students.
Okay, so was there ever a number? So where does this $45 billion come from?
Yeah, so there was a number in the American Jobs Plan that Biden put out that included some funding for infrastructure along with some centers of excellence, 200 centers of excellence that would have gone to all HBCUs and MSIs, which, to be quite frank, is more than half of the schools that are in existence in total. When you include all the HSIs, all the PBIs, which are predominantly black institutions, HBCUs, it's a gamut that runs across the spectrum. So when we say decoupling, what we mean is this: we have to make sure that HBCUs have a pot of money that they can apply for and compete against other HBCUs for. That's what we've been pushing for, and that's what we've been urging Congress to do.
Okay, so this thing is being spread like wildfire. People saying all sorts of different things. And so what is being spread is factually incorrect. And so it looks real cute. Oh, the Democrats and Biden are going from $45 billion to $2 billion for HBCUs.
No, right now there is no $2 billion for HBCUs. There is no the $2 billion is for all MSI HBCUs to compete, as was the $45 billion. Now, what there is also in the plan, which we have to highlight The positives of the plan is there is a tuition assistance program for HBCUs and MSIs for the first 2 years, where students would basically be able to go to our schools for free for those first 2 years, and that's in the plan as well. There's also $1 billion in the Department of Agriculture for HBCUs in the plan. There's also $1 billion for HBCUs in the Department of Commerce in the plan, or in the bills that have gone through the House committee. So there are lots of things in the bill. Of course, I advocate for HBCUs, and we're fighting for more money for HBCUs as is our job to do. But we have to, be truthful about what's really happening.
Well, that's precisely why we wanted you on the show, why we wanted Leslie on the show, so we can actually have the details. And so people who are spreading that Associated Press and that Newsweek story have the actual facts. We also are trying to get Congressman Bobby Scott on the show as well, other members of the CBC, to explain this, so people are not walking around saying a whole bunch of crap. They have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
It's very important, and thank you for giving us a platform to talk about it.
Victor, so appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
We talked about this yesterday, all over social media, lots of discussion about funding for HBCUs. Associated Press and Newsweek did a story saying that the Biden administration and Democrats were cutting from $45 billion to $2 billion for HBCUs. We now know that's not true. One of the folks who's been trying to correct a lot of these falsehoods about funding for HBCUs, especially the last 4 years with Donald Trump, is my next guest, Dr. Walter Kimbrough. He's the president of Dillard University, retiring at the end of this year. Dr. Kimbrough, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. This is something that's big because this thing has been spreading like wildfire. People have been saying all sorts of different things. Here you go. Dems don't care about black folks. They're cutting $45 billion. And I had Leslie Baskerville on yesterday from NAFIO. I had on Victor Santos from the Marshall Fund as well. And both of them said it wasn't $45 billion. And so, look, you are an HBCU president. Break down exactly what's going on with HBCU funding in these budget proposals right now.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Roland. I appreciate having this opportunity. And just remind folks, I'm not retiring. I'm just transitioning. I'm doing the free agent thing. So we see where I end up. But it's been frustrating for me because I think there are some legitimate concerns that we have. But when people get out there and share all of this misinformation, it creates bigger problems. So, and I had a chance to listen to Leslie and Victor. So I thought they provided great information that people can listen to. But what President Biden did was come in and said, I really am going to have a robust proposal for HBCUs. So he asked for lots of money. So when you hear the $45 billion figure, and I've seen anywhere from 30 to 50 billion, it's all over the place. But if we look at the $45 billion, so 20 billion of that is straight infrastructure. And as you've mentioned to people, it's HBCUs and MSIs, Hispanic serving, Asian Pacific, Native American. So there will be a portion of that for HBCUs, which will be significant. So 20 billion for that. 15 billion of it is for research and development. So just straight R&D is 15 billion, and then or 10 billion, and then another 15 billion that will be for centers of excellence to create these centers of excellence at HBCUs. And I heard Victor talk about that. So that's where the 45 billion comes from. So the process is for any president, they present their budget priorities to Congress, and then those committees have to do the work. So President Biden started off and said, hey, this is what I want. Also, because this is getting lost too, he also wanted to help double the Pell Grant. And so his first salvo was to get it up $1,800. Okay, so that we aren't even talking about that because that would impact 7 million college students. So you have all that together. It goes to the committee. It's now with the Committee for Education and Labor, which is chaired by Bobby Scott. And now they have to do the work. And so when they go through the process and they're working together, they try to decide how much is Congress willing to spend. And that's when you start to have those cuts and they start to negotiate. So it goes back and forth. They'll have a run at it. The Senate will have a run at it. Then we'll end up with the final figure. So that's how the process works. The process always works like that. But it's hard to even get a number like that on the table if the president doesn't put it out there. Trump never put out big numbers like that. And every time we got an increase is because our friends in Congress said that's unacceptable. And so they added money to it. So that's the point, that we're going through the process like we always do. I think he shocked people because he came up with a huge number. And I think he set the table, which is really good for us. And now we all have to do our work to work with members of Congress and say, look, the president made this promise. Y'all need to help him make that promise come true.
Also, again, we talk about funding. This is what Leslie and Victor discussed yesterday. You can't negate the funding that already came through two previous bills in 2021 already. The COVID bill, what was it, $6 billion? And then there was another billion plus?
Right. So we've gotten over $6 billion in the last 18 months altogether. So you had some toward the end of the Trump administration for COVID. That was about $1 billion. And then you get another 2.6 that's a part of the work that President Biden has done. And then also add that it was approved at the end of 2020. Alma Adams did a lot of work with this as well. We had a number of HBCUs that had debts as a part of the HBCU Capital Finance Program. That was approved in the bill. The new Secretary of Education approved that to be wiped off the books. That's another $1.6 billion. So yes, we're talking about $5 to $6 billion that HBCUs have received in the last 18 months. And reminding people, every year, annually, we only receive about $1 billion from the federal government. And as Victor rightly pointed out, it comes from lots of different buckets. So it's not just Department of Education, it's from agriculture, it's from defense, it's from interior. It comes from a lot of different places. But when you add it all together, it's only about $1 billion. So now we're talking about $6 billion already in 18 months. And in the Biden administration, Corinne Jean-Pierre did an interview with HBCU journalists. She said that's $4 billion of it is from them alone. So it's not like nothing has been done. There has been significant investments in HBCUs. We're now trying to play the long ball to say, how do we get significant investments that will last so we can really do some major infrastructure work, which the entire country has talked about infrastructure. So we're being consistent with what the president has talked about as a part of the campaign trail.
You know, and it's real interesting, Dr. Kimbrough. You know, you always got to deal with these dumbasses out here. Some people don't want to say that. I'll go ahead and say it. I got some idiot on YouTube, Truth Seeker. Roland, how much do the Democrats pay you to do damage control? What the Democrats doing? No, it's called facts. See, this is real simple. If the funding was cut from $45 billion to $2 billion, we're going to tell the truth about what's going on here. The problem is when people are making stuff up. As a journalist, the first thing I said is, White House, is this true? What's the actual proposal? What's the actual number? What's going on here? The problem is you got a bunch of people out here, and again, and let me say it, the Associated Press story that was done, then the Newsweek story was done, were both wrong. I asked the most basic question to Leslie and Victor, and that is, of this so-called $45 billion, the way the story has been framed is it's being cut for HBCUs. Victor says no. This says HBCUs and minority serving institutions. I was blown away when he told me that my alma mater, Texas A&M, qualifies as an Hispanic serving institution. And so in this pot of money, you at Dillard will be going up against Texas A&M for the same pool of money. That's not protecting Democrats. That's called the damn truth.
Right, exactly. And those are the kinds of nuances that we've got to be able to honestly talk about to make sure that does not happen. So you're exactly right. Those are the kinds of concerns that we have. The other thing, and I'm sure you'll appreciate this, we've got to have more diversity in terms of journalism, because these AP stories are wrong all the time. There was one that a lot of people use to say Trump, saved HBCUs with $250 million a year. No. Out of that 250, it was for HBCUs and Hispanic serving institutions. Only 85 million was for HBCUs. It was a part of the Future Act. But people have posted that story over and over and over again to say, look at what Trump did. They don't talk about how it was already approved by both chambers of Congress with veto-proof majorities. His signature was performative. Or like Alma Adams said, the only thing he contributed was his signature. He didn't do any lobbying for that at all. So it's important for us to have the facts. So then once we have the real facts, then we can debate and say, all right, here's the facts. Now, you're saying that you want to do this and make us compete with all Hispanic serving institutions. The University of Texas at Austin just became an HSI this year, 25% Latino. That's unacceptable. So we can have an honest conversation and debate, but when we start tossing in everything else, it's a problem. The last thing I'll say really quickly is that I'm always interested. These people come out of the woodwork complaining about what's happening for HBCUs, but nobody is advocating for us on a regular basis. The UNCF has created a platform that if you're concerned about this and want to do more than tweet, you go to the platform at uncf.org /HBCU Ignite. It's really easy. It takes you a minute. You can write your Congress people. You can call them. You can tweet them and say, give HBCUs this money. That's part of the reason that the Future Act got passed, because we had 66,000 letters in 2 months telling Congress we want this Future Act to be passed. Right now, for this new HBCU Ignite, which focuses on infrastructure, we've only had 11,000 people do that so far. So if everybody's tweeting and they're on Twitter and using the Twitter fingers, go to HBCU Ignite as a part of uncf.org and help us lobby for this money.
Simple as that. Dr. Walter Kimball, President, Dillard University, represent like alphas always do.
Always.
Folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now, she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going?
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am Roland with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
This is what pisses me off. It pisses me off when Just what Dr. Kimbrough said, all of these stories, how Trump, even when Senator Tim Scott went on Face the Nation with that BS, talking about and he tweeted that how they guaranteed funding for HBCUs, like they protected HBCUs. No, it's an absolute lie. This story was a lie. And people have got to stop sitting here playing Mickey Mouse games here. They were not, again, first of all, it was laughable because HBCUs have never gotten $45 billion in 1 year from the federal government. Never. Not even close. So anybody who even believed that should have been smacked upside their damn head. But the thing, what you really have here is people who do not want to do addition. I've got these fools, and Reese is going to talk about that, of course. These idiots going, see, you got a so-called HBCU graduate as vice president. Well, dumbasses, the money, they've gotten more in this 1 year of this administration than they got in 4 years of Trump. Facts are facts. As they say, Greg, ball don't lie.
No, ball don't lie. Again, the value of the Black Star Network, and Roland Martin unfilled it specifically. The truth has to come out. I mean, and the truth is this. Most of our HBCUs in the South have been held hostage by these white nationalist Republican legislatures. My alma mater, Tennessee State, as almost $600 million is the tally that has been shorted since the 50s just on state appropriation because the federal government gave matching funds. Remember, the public HBCUs, most of them are moral land grant institutions. And so there's a bucket of money that has always come from the federal government, either directly or, as Walter says, President Kimbrough, through Pell Grants. But of course, what you've done there, Roland, is put this issue where it needs to be put. The challenge now will be in budget reconciliation. As President Kimbrough said, Bobby Scott is going to have to go to war on the language of this. Alma Adams has spoken out on this, and she's spoken out on it on the airwaves here with you. And we've heard even Brother Williams, the head of the Thurgood Marshall Fund, make this point. These HBCUs should not be competing with MSIs. As you said, they are being classified that way. There shouldn't be one pot of money, and there's a Hunger Games between HBCUs, MSIs, and tribal colleges as well. But that's an issue down the road. What we have to keep our eye on is that the Biden administration has indeed greatly increased in terms of a projected number, the money available. But the real war that Brother President was talking about is going to be the war, the devil in the details, to get HBCUs out of that pool because they're not going to be able to trump, lack of a better term, the MSIs, because a lot of those MSIs are, in fact, white-facing institutions that are going to try to grab that money up.
Reese, you talk a lot about the deliberate misinformation that is happening in our community. You frankly blew up on social when you were battling the misinformation dealing with then Senator Kamala Harris. And that's what we see here. This discussion is not about protecting Democrats, protecting Biden, protecting Harris. No, it's called protecting the truth. And that is telling people what's real and not the BS being spread in memes and these stories that are going around. That's what this is all about. It's called the truth.
Well, this is exactly what I said was going to happen when I saw the Newsweek story. I said, this is a horrible idea, and once this is memeified, good luck trying to explain the nuances and the context behind this. I mean, Dr. Kimbrough broke down where the $45 million came from. I think it's important to put this in the context that we're talking about $3.5 up to $3.5 trillion of additional infrastructure spending. And so $45 billion is a drop in the bucket of trillions of dollars. So I don't think that part should be lost here. I mean, as Dr. Kimbrough and you pointed out, this was for a variety of things. It wasn't just a pot of money. It was specific set-asides that this was intended for. And I think when it comes to the discussion about funding for HBCUs and minority serving institutions, it's always conflated. Even the $2 billion number is not strictly just for HBCUs. So I think that the problem is the devil is in the details. The problem is the context always adds additional knowledge to it that doesn't sound as inflammatory as a headline or what you can fit in a tweet. And so I think it's important that, you know, constituents, as Dr. Kimbrough pointed out, still advocate for additional funding, advocate for, if the $2 billion is the number, then make sure that all of that $2 billion goes to HBCUs. So, I mean, I think labeling the Newsweek article misinformation is probably a step further than what I'm willing to go, because there was a $45 billion number put out there, but some of the context was lacking, and people did not distinguish between the fact that that $45 billion was not a cut to existing funding. It was a cut to the proposal that was initially put forward by the Biden-Harris administration. And that wasn't over a year, that was over 10 years, like the infrastructure package is for. So there are a lot of things that are working against the perception of Democrats' priorities, the perception of how HBCUs and Black voters are valued. But the bottom line is, if you're explaining, then you're losing. And nuance is lost in memes. Democrats always lose the messaging war. And there are people that really don't give a damn about HBCUs that are having a field day with it, because it's something that is very easy it's a big number to throw out there and say, look, $43 billion was cut. It's not a cut to anything that already exists. It's a cut to the idea of how much money HBCUs, along with minority serving institutions, we're going to get for a variety of things. But that's a very, very difficult argument to make in a very soundbite, 280 character headline meme society. So I think that what Democrats should do is listen. Like I said, it's a drop in the bucket of trillions of dollars. I'm not saying you get all the way back up to the $45 billion number, but find some more money for HBCUs. And if you're not going to do that, then you're going to spend a lot of resources and a lot of time just batting down this particular story. And there are going to be probably 100 more stories to come from. But one of the things that Trump was strong on, which was complete bullshit, was the notion that he was supportive of HBCU. And I was the one who was saying over and over again, well, he's taking credit for the funding that Vice President Kamala Harris fought for in the Senate and Congresswoman Alma Adams fought for in the Congress. But this is an area that the Republicans have been successful in messaging that they are supportive of HBCUs, at least on the federal level. So the Democrats are going to have some work in trying to undo this perception. And I think they should try to find more money. And that's not just as an optics thing. That's because HBCUs, as you covered a couple weeks ago, there are many institutions that need the infrastructure funding because of the capital expenditures that they need to make.
Mm-hmm. But the thing, Faraji, here that we have to deal with, and this is where the nuance comes in and why this matters, is because you have to know, first of all, what the hell you're fighting for. You've got to have a baseline to operate with. So first of all, if you don't know what the real number is, what the real budget number is, then when they start talking about how to make cuts, because here's the deal, Biden's initial plan, a $3.5 trillion plan over 10 years. That's $350 billion a year. When you have Democrats now saying, like Manchin, Sinema, scale that back, but when they say scale it back from 3.5 billion to 1.5 billion, guess what that means? Everything in the plan gets scaled back.
Right.
Everything. So we have to have a baseline to work with. And so we need to know what the number is. So to Dr. Kimbrough's point, you should be calling and emailing, not sound like a damn fool and trying to call Capitol Hill going, put the $45 billion back. That's not going to happen because it's not going to happen. Okay. If I had a $3.5 billion proposal for 10 years, and then I need to get the votes and the folks say, we are not going to support anything over 1.5 or low as 1.2. Guess what? You ain't getting 45. So you need to know what the number. And here's the other deal. You ain't getting the 45 HBCUs because it doesn't just include HBCUs. Santos said yesterday, well, there are 101 HBCUs. There are 569 Hispanic serving institutions. Put them together, y'all. That's 670. So 670 now competing for the money. And so, what people also don't know, Faraji, is that on Capitol Hill, whenever you hear people talking about let's increase the funding for HBCUs, the people who represent Hispanic serving institutions then want to increase in their funding. And so folks need to understand why we are doing this, because we need to educate our people on who the hell to call, what the hell to call about, and having the right information and not sound like a damn fool when you call your member of Congress.
No, and that's absolutely right, Brother Roland. And I think it's a few things here at play. One is that the lie persists because people have lost hope in political leadership. So people have already gotten to the point of feeling like even President Biden and Vice President Harris aren't going to do anything. So the lie kept going and going and going. The other part about it is just what you said, which I think is
but even right there, Faraji,
yeah.
but even right there, and I totally agree with you, but to Reese's point, this is also where, frankly, the Biden-Harris communications team, I don't know what the hell they doing. If you kick $7 billion already to HBCUs, you might want to be yelling that from the rooftops.
I would wholeheartedly.
I'm just saying.
I agree. And you know what? This is one of the big parts of why I have a frustration with the Democratic Party. It's just that, if you're doing good, you need to scream that you're doing good. If you're making strides and making progress, scream that out. Instead of saying, well, people are going to check in and they're going to see it later on and they're going to find out. No, nobody's going to find out. Because you know why? Let's keep it real. People don't read now. We just don't read.
They don't.
We look at headlines. We look at the first, you look at the lead line of the story, and then boom, you don't go all the way down to look at the context of a situation. You don't go to get the details of a situation, nor do you understand how certain people ended up in a situation, who is responsible for what. And that's unfortunate. And it's not because I'm trying to throw shade on anybody. I'm just saying that we have been conditioned as a people in this country to not be as literate. And I'm saying that with the great utmost respect. We're not as literate as we could be. We just don't go through the full story because we do live in a microwave social media era where everything needs to be real quick. So I just need to read a story in a couple of seconds and I'm going to move on to the next story. And then we make up these assumptions that's not rooted in truth. Now, the other part about this is that in government, Brother Roland, Dr. Carl Reese, we all know government works very simple. You have limited resources to try to meet the interest of all of these different people. So you got black people, yes, but black people ain't the only ones in America. We got to talk about the Latino community. We got to talk about the Asian American community and the interest that comes with that. And you have people in Congress that represent all of these different interests that are going to want a piece of the pie, especially those who are not a part of the majority of this country. So we're going to have to look at that. Then the final point is this. As much as we're talking about what the government is doing on the HBCU side, let's have a bigger conversation about getting black children and black students enrolled in HBCUs. We would not have to be in this conversation. Dr. Carr, I'm sure you have these discussions all the time at Howard. You don't have, when we're talking about, whether you're talking about Morgan or Howard or whoever, you got to talk about, well, how do we get black students to see the value and the importance of HBCUs in 2021? What does that actually mean? Can these HBCUs go out to the high schools and create, or even take the 101 HBCUs and come up with a real campaign to get people excited about going to an HBCU, and regardless of what part of the country you're in? And see, because I've seen it and I've talked about it, in Morgan State University, the enrollment numbers need to hit a certain match. But see, again, if we don't support the HBCU institution as a people, then that leaves us open to begging and hoping and putting our hands out to the government saying we need to. No, the support needs to come in. If the HBCU is doing its job, which they are doing, then that means that generation after generation should be invested in HBCUs. Now, will all black children go to HBCUs? No. But for those who have benefited from the HBCU experience, are your children going to HBCUs? Are your grandchildren going to HBCUs? Are your nieces and nephews going to HBCUs? Then let's have the conversation about alumni. Are alumni giving back to? Because why Harvard and Yale and some of these other white institutions are thriving and are able to withstand government cutbacks and all of these other winds of time and change? Because the students that went there had enough to say, you know what, I'm going to give back in some way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, and I've seen this at Morgan, We just don't have that as a part of our culture enough, where alumni and students that have gained from the HBCU experience will actually give back. So we have a lot of dynamics. This is not just about President Biden. This is really a reflection on us, because we keep putting HBCUs in a vulnerable position. And when they start to close down, you know, when 101 goes to 100 and 98 and 90, and when they start to close up, man, what are we going to do about them HBCU? They closing down. Well, what have we been doing about HBCUs?
Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now, she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going?
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?